what's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 10 of Chill Lion. Appreciate your patience. I should have got this out a couple days ago, but life happens. But I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to you guys about a three-part movie series that's pretty relevant right now that I've premiered on Netflix in recent time, this previous month. And it's one of those things where it's nothing like really amazing, but it's not bad. There's good things, there's quality with it. So I don't know, it's just something that's fun that, if it's for you, you might enjoy. So without further ado, today we are talking about Fear Street. So, like I said, I touched on Fear Street was released this month. It was released in three parts. Fear Street Part 1, 1994, Part 2, 1978, and then Part 3, 1966. No, not 1966, 1666. Oh, man, already going so smooth. But, yeah, the movie's broken up into three parts, but all have to do with just the same story, a lot of the same characters, but everything's all connected. I'll get into more details with the story, but I kind of want to just give you guys just some, I guess, history on what just Fear Street's all about. So Fear Street was actually a book series. I'm pretty sure it might have been the early 90s or late 80s, but it's very similar to Goosebumps. They were written by R.L. Stine as well, who also wrote Goosebumps. But the main difference between like Goosebumps and the Fear Street novels, where Goosebumps, they're definitely a little bit more mainstream, and mainly because it is gravitated towards a younger audience. In terms of just more kids, it's more about things that are spooky and things that are creepy. As in Fear Street, although the novels are written by the same author, and in a way is a lot of like the same format, because every just quick novel is just a completely different random story. But the Fear Street novels really were, I think, more gravitated towards like high school students and college students, and they were popular because unlike Goosebumps, they really were a little bit more vulgar, I guess you could say, in terms of just details regarding killings, and they touched on drugs, sex, like everything. So it's definitely just the Fear Street novels, all in all, were just a more mature version of the Goosebumps series. And I know I said the three-part movies are based off the novels, but in a way I could just say that they're more inspired by them, because the one thing that I like about the Fear Street movies, where it wasn't really from a specific book, Fear Street book, or a specific Fear Street novel, that the show, or well, the three-part movies got their source material from. Like, this was a whole new story. This was never really its own book back in the day. And one thing I appreciate about that is you always get those people, especially when there's movie adaptations or show adaptations of really famous books, and you just always get those people, well, the movie was okay, but the book, like, we get it. Congratulations. You know how to read. Most of the time, let's be honest, books are better than the movie or show adaptations of stuff, but you don't gotta be a fucking Karen about it. So I like that this was kind of like its own story, freshly written by R.L. Stine, who was very involved with the creating of the movies. And just so you don't draw a comparison to like the source material, this was kind of like its own thing. So for that, it worked for me. So let's get into the story real quick. So Fear Street, just to sum it up without giving too much away, broken up into three parts. I told you guys the years already. But basically, it's like these two towns. One is called Sunnyside and one is called Shadyside. And for all my Jersey people, because I'm from New Jersey, I guess it's like Paramus is Sunnyside and Patterson is freaking Shadyside. So it's like Shadyside just has like crime, bad luck, definitely more diverse. The Sunnyside area is more elite, snotty people. So basically the Shadyside town is, apparently the story is that every few years there's always like just these random murders and just horrific deaths that take place in the town. And basically the rumor is amongst the residents is that the reason why every few years that these crazy massacres and murders happen is because there's this witch that is has cursed the town because she got hung by the town's residents in 1666, which is the third movie, which explains everything. And because of how they killed her, she pretty much has her grip on the land, and every few years gets revenge by possessing people to commit these crazy murders. That's pretty much the story of it. And in the three parts, you get the teenagers who are experiencing their situation in 1994 with the murders that are happening that year. They basically meet a survivor from 1978 who survived the murder that happened at the camp that year. So between those first two movies, you're pretty much learning about what happened, and then the characters through their experiences are pretty much drawing in clues that then lead into the third movie that takes place in 1666, which then kind of gives you the confirmation of what they picked up on, but then also pretty much tells you what's really going on with why this is happening. And you kind of see things from the witch's perspective a little bit in the third film. So that's basically the story. I'm trying to leave out as much as possible because I don't want to really spoil anything. But I'll get right to the verdict now. You guys know I like to do that rather early. And I think I'm gonna give this a 6 out of 10. And that is a good grade on my scale. It's above average. 5 is average. I'll give this a 6 out of 10. I definitely thought it was a lot of fun. And there's a lot of good things about it. It has a lot of like cringy stuff in it. But yeah, let's dive into all of this. I'm gonna break down my likes and my dislikes for you guys, and just some overall thoughts on the Fear Street movies on Netflix. So yeah, thinking about the likes, because I always like to start off on a positive note. The thing I think I appreciated most about these movies, the kills. The kills in this movie were excellent. A lot of fun, very bloody for the most part. Part of me kind of wish we had a little bit more kills, especially since this is falling in like the slasher genre. It's still a plus. I thought there had some really, really awesome kills. I definitely have to give 1994 the award for best kill out of all of the kills throughout the movies. And I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody, but I'll just say that it does happen in a supermarket. And it's pretty fucking sweet, and it's pretty bloody, so you guys love every minute of that. Another thing I like, I definitely appreciated the soundtrack to these movies. Really, there's a lot of really popular songs from those times, so it's just nostalgic in general. Just watching it, you're definitely gonna catch a vibe. So music and soundtrack was another plus for me. I already mentioned the film is just fun. Like, it's a fun atmosphere. Like, the movies don't really take themselves too seriously. They kind of just are what they are. There's some good setups and there's some good twists, but for the most part, the movies give up some really fun vibes. So that's another like. And then lastly, I guess, despite this having like more of a feel for a younger audience, because it is a rated R film, but watching it, you're dealing with, of course, younger actors and stuff, and it just feels like a high school horror flick. Like, watching it feels like a high school horror flick. But despite that, I gotta give them a like for just keeping true to it being rated R, and to just it being kind of just real, you know what I mean? So those were definitely the likes for me. there were some dislikes, and ironically, one of my dislikes for me does have to do with the music that I just praised. And the bad thing I would have to say about the soundtrack in these movies is more primarily for 1994 and 1978. But I kind of wish they had more songs for the specific years that the movies took place in. For 94, for example, um, I don't even think there was a song from 1994, and that there might have been one. I was looking at the soundtrack, there might have been one, but there was a lot of tracks from 93, which that works because, if there's really famous tracks from 93, they're still going to be in people's rotations in 94. So that was okay with. But I think there was one song, I'm completely forgetting the name of it. One song was from 1997. Why do you have a song from 1997 that takes place in a movie in 1994? That I wasn't really cool with. And like one of the characters, he's African American. He's one of the younger. He's like tubby, nerdy. He was like a really likable character. But this kid sits in his room on his computer all day on like AOL Instant Messenger, which I could have swore AOL Instant Messenger came out in 97. But in 1994, he's instant messaging friends or whatever, and he's just blasting music. He's particularly the Pixies, which, I love the Pixies. The specific songs he was listening to, I'd probably say probably from 89. But I just think, like, this is a young African-American kid. Like, it's 94. He's going to listen to Pixies the whole time? Like, you're not going to throw in some Snoop, some gin and juice on my mind, on my money, and my money on my mind? Like, I don't know. It was a missed opportunity. We could have had... There was some great music that came out in 94. We could have had at least one or two like big songs from that year, because that's what the kids would have been listening to. Same thing with part 2. Most of the songs were from like 76, 75. I don't really see too many songs particularly from 1978. But that's not really a huge dislike. That's just like one example for me, because I'm like a stickler when it comes to details. If you're gonna like really be in a world, like let's try to get it down to the T. But I did have some more serious dislikes, and one thing was just the acting. The acting really wasn't that good. The movies weren't badly written either. I actually liked how the movies flowed. Really did. That was a plus for me, especially for like at the end of each part, like they kind of gave you like a little intro to get you excited for like the next up and coming film, because these 3 films were released. They weren't released all at once. They were released weekly. So at the end, it definitely got you excited for the next like film. But the acting just really wasn't that strong. And I mean, with a lot of it, it's really not that hard to ignore. Because there's a lot of likable features in these movies. But then I just think over time, it just started getting to me where it's just like, look, I know not every film or show is supposed to be like Oscar worthy or whatever, but I feel like there should be a standard for just the quality of acting that you get. And I kind of guess it just shows you like the politics to maybe the acting world and just like how things are casted. I don't really know. There's a lot of corporate vibes behind the scenes in Hollywood, and corporate people are the most vanilla, corny people you'll ever meet in your life. Trust me, I know from experience. But I don't know. I just feel like there should just be more of a standard to acting where it's just like things just feel more authentic and it just feels more like real, especially in the forms of dialogue with how characters are talking to each other and just hanging around each other. So I don't know, the acting was a dislike for me. Luckily I was able to ignore that for the most part. And I guess along with acting, I think it was specifically in the 1666 film, one thing I liked about it is they used a lot of the same actors from the first 2 movies to portray the characters in 1666, which is really smart because you're paying less actors and like So it's cool giving them like a different role within the same universe. I really like that. But for some of the like the actors, their accents, because they were supposed to be like, in that time, with the accents and just the lingo that people used in the 1600s. But oh man, the actors could have put a little bit more effort. Some of those accents were really, really rough in that third film. So that was just a little bit that was a little disappointing for me. Let me see. Yeah, that's pretty much. Oh, one more thing. I just felt like, I guess this goes along with acting. I just felt like some things, there's just some real over dramatic moments throughout some of the films. And some of those moments just really, really felt out of place. And I'll give you two good examples. And we're kind of going into a little bit of spoiler zone, but it's nothing that's going to give away too much in terms of just overall story. But for one example, we're at the end of the 1994 film, and without giving away too many details, basically the kids who survived towards the end of that film, they just went through the most traumatic experience of their young lives, right? And they just had a couple of their friends completely murdered in front of them. I would think there'd be some trauma there. There'd be just the vibe is just off. But they have this one out of place moment where I guess the lead actress, she's so used to being annoyed at her brother, or just always having to deal with him and do everything for him. So there's this moment where she's just like, mind you, this is right after her friends were like murdered and stuff like that, and she spent the whole night in a police station explaining what happened. But she's this moment where she's just like, oh my god, because the kid orders pizza. The kid orders pizza, which he's a teenager, he should know how to do that. The kid orders pizza, so she comes downstairs because I guess she heard the knock on the door for the pizza delivery guy, and she's yelling at her brother like, "Hey, someone's at the fucking door!" Well, she's not saying fucking, but that was just a really bad example. But she's like, "Hey, someone's at the door!" and she's calling for her brother, and then he's just like, "Wait, what?" And then he's like eating pizza, and she's like, "Oh my god, you ordered pizza!" Like, if it's the biggest milestone ever, and it was like a really cheesy, like sappy moment that I just wouldn't expect after someone just saw their friends get murdered. But maybe I'm being a stickler. Another moment was in 1978, where one of the main characters that's possessed and is like doing the slashing and killing in that second film, he gets knocked unconscious. And you know what they say in the horror movie formula, someone cueing Jamie Kennedy in the Scream movies. But there's formulas to these movies. So the first time you think you killed the killer, just know the killer is just, he's still alive. He's gonna get back up. So there's this moment in the 78 one where it's just like they're figuring everything out and they know what they have to do. So this one character who's like injured, she's like, all right, let's go. Like, she makes it seem like so important. Like, we got to do this now so we could stop all of this. And then out the door, I guess they're trying to tell her to wait in the cabin or whatever because she's injured. But instead of just like going out the door and just be like, nah, we got to do this now, and just giving them no choice, she has to have this dramatic ass monologue. Well, my dad, and then this and that, and this is why I just have to do this. And oh my god, and it just felt so out of place. And there's obviously consequences there. The killer gets back up. So you guys, definitely check that out. Those were some of the negatives for me. But for the most part, I had a lot of fun with this. I've always been a huge horror movie and show fan. And, in this day and age, I feel like you do get more like psychological horrors, and you do get more horrors that have to do with like possession and demons and stuff like that. So for me, it's just like we don't really see slashers as much as we have back in the day, but I feel like the slasher genre is making a comeback, and I'm excited because I got into horror movies at a very young age. I was a very weird child. I like dark shit. I can't help it. But like the first movies that I really started watching were like, the Halloweens, the Friday the 13th, the Chuckies. There, it was the slasher genre. I felt like at a young age, I couldn't fully comprehend some of the more serious, like classic horrors, like the Rosemary's Babies and the Exorcisms and stuff like that. It was just a lot of dialogue and a lot of stuff I didn't understand. But when it comes to someone like chopping someone up with like an axe or machete or a butcher knife, like, that's just entertainment right there. So I gotta give the Fear Street movies, although they're not perfect, they're getting a just slightly above average grade of 6 out of 10. I don't know. I thought this was very enjoyable, and that's just coming from a horror movie fan who likes slashers, and I hope slashers just really I hope we get more of it. So I guess to wrap things up, because I do have a couple minutes left. What I could say with Netflix, this was a 3-part movie, and I'm not sure how it did in the ratings. I did peep. There were a couple times it was in the top 10, but I'm not sure if any of them are really in the top 10 now. So I hope this does get some clicks, because I think there's opportunity here for Netflix, especially with like Halloween coming up. Obviously, they wouldn't be able to produce anything, that quickly, but just for future like reference, I think they could bring back the Fear Street series, whether it's like another 3-part movie, or whether it's a more of a limited series format, or whether it's just like more of a like Twilight Zone type of feel, where maybe they do go in the direction of, hey, every episode is gonna kind of be its own thing, and they make it more into a show rather than movies. But I don't know. I feel like Netflix should really consider expanding it. Like, these books were all random stories, different genres, and I feel like from the people who I know who have at least checked this out, a lot of people really fucked with these Fear Street movies. So all in all, I mean, we'll probably get different actors, we'll get a different story, but I hope Netflix brings it back. So that's it for this episode, pretty much. I guess just to wrap things up, July, which I've mentioned in every episode this month, we've gotten so much stuff that's coming out. I'm not has that is coming up, but that has come out. We in terms of like, if for my Power fans, the Raising Kanan show just started. I think they're about 2 episodes in. I'm up to date with that. I love the Power series, and I love how they're really building up this Power universe, because there's a market for it. This is like a cult following. So although I'm not talking about Raising Kanan now, I'm gonna wait till the season is over. There'll definitely be an episode on that. The Shy, if anybody watches The Shy on Showtime, that is wrapping up. I think the season finale is this upcoming weekend, and boy, do I have some thoughts on that. So you guys will be getting an episode on The Shy very soon. No guarantees, but like I was talking about with July, with just so much stuff coming out and finishing up, I'm gonna try to get another episode out at the end of this week. Just to wrap up, just some movies, like, maybe I'll talk about Space Jam, I'll talk about the Escape Room 2. I'm gonna try to make an effort to watch M. Night Shyamalan's Old this week, and so I'm gonna try to get you guys another episode, just to highlight a bunch of stuff all in one episode rather than just one thing, and kind of just wrap up just my thoughts on July and some of its releases and what's to come in August. I'll be hitting up Tampa, Florida, this upcoming weekend. I'm helping out a family member with a very exciting move. He's moving from Jersey to Florida, and I've never done a drive that long before, so kind of looking forward to the experience. And I've never driven a U-Haul truck. Like, I drive a Lexus ES, and I'm just kind of just used to whipping that around, and I drive like a maniac. So it's gonna be a nice little change of pace, helping them out with the drive down there with a U-Haul truck. That should be fun. So yeah, I might be out of commission for a few days. Once I get back, I'm gonna be flying back to Jersey. So once I get back to Jersey, I'll be filming another episode ASAP. So Yeah, this episode's dropping. Obviously, you guys are watching right now. This episode dropped. Hopefully, there's another one before I leave to Florida. And then if not, you guys will be getting another episode probably sometime late next week, more around like I'd say the Wednesday to Saturday range, somewhere between those lines. So yeah, appreciate you guys if you're still watching, and all in all, enjoy this week. Take care. Peace.